Back to the next episode of prepping Peter's bike. It's a bit of a mouthful. Taking the rear wheel out, putting a new tyre on, taking the old tube out, putting a new heavy duty tube, ultra heavy duty tube, checking the wheel bearings, greasing the wheel bearings, and putting it all back whilst talking bollocks with Chubby. So paper, well, we know on that one, that can go outside, yeah, all over the petunias. What about a 2-2 or just a smaller one, a 1-1?
Yeah, make a pink Crocs and a 2-2 back to the hotel and then back again in the morning. And then if nobody else falls off, then they have to carry on doing that until the next person falls off.
Does anyone ever fall off when we're in the Pyrenees?
That's the problem. Last year, nobody fell off. The year before, everyone fell off.
Yeah, handbrake turns in McDonald's. We've got to get that. Make sure that tyre grip is up and under. There we go.
You need a tyre grip really on that.
Well, it's kind of like advisable really.
On the CRF.
The CRF hasn't got a lot of power, but
maybe
if you're running low pressures, like we sometimes do with you need a tyre grip, don't you? So basically, Chubby always gives you a ring every day, or I give him a ring, and we just talk bollocks the whole time. Sometimes we could be talking for an hour or so. Yeah.
Funny seeing Giuseppe drive off on his own.
Yeah.
He stalled. Oh no, the embarrassment.
Yeah. You still stall when you're 68 years old, let alone bloody 17.
He does what I told him to do when he's pulling out the junction here. He's pulling out the driveway. Is drop his window down so he can listen.
Perfect. Yeah, you can listen then, can't you?
But his mum doesn't even do that.
Yeah. Well, turning the stereo down is a bit of a chore, isn't it?
Yeah, he's there with a gangster rap blaring out.
Gangster rapping. Yeah. It looks alright. And you don't want to do your tyre grip
I'll
up.
put it up to 30 and leave it until we're in the garage and playing then.
Right. Tyre grip's in the right place. I've now moved to the balancing department in the workshop.
Oh.
And I'm not expecting it to be as far out as a tubeless, but we'll find out. Look, here's the wheel weight. It's going to be there. You know it's going to be there. Yeah, it takes about 7 years for it to stop spinning. Spinny, spinny, spinny. Yeah, come on, let's just slow that down a little bit and let you. Or it could be that silver paint I put on there with 24, which is not helping. Yeah. Yeah, it's there. It's there. How much weight do we need? That's the thing. Because he wants so much lead on here, Chubby, what I'm going to do, rather than leave that big lump of lead on there, because you know what Peter's like, he's a bit of a poser, isn't he? He'll want them brass bits on there. So I'll weigh that on the kitchen scales and tell him he needs brass weights to the weight of this. Yeah? Does that sound stupid or not? Yeah, it doesn't. So look, you take it off, wow, straight down the bottom it goes. What is the time? It's only 9:30 and it's really hot out there. I'm dripping. So it looks like that's all I'm going to do today is do that, maybe do the other tyre later. But anyway, Pete, who owns this bike, is such a poser. He is going to want those fancy brass wheel weights. So I found out how much weight he needs, and it is 9.1 grams? Was it 91 grams? I don't know. Anyway, that's what he needs. Put the dust cap on and then spin it up to the dust cap. because that way you'll see if the tyre has moved. But if it's done down tight, it will just rip it off. So Pete is unfortunate. He doesn't have rally raid spacers for his CRF and the rally raid seals, which really make a big difference to putting the wheel back. Any of you who've got a CRF will know what a pain it is. So a couple of little tips we can do. I'm going to cable tie that to the swinging arm. Cable tie the caliper to the swinging arm, not tight, just enough to keep it in the groove, man. Keep it on. Hello, neighbour started his saw up. So yeah, that'll keep that in the groove, and yes, you can leave it in. So yeah, that's good. The other thing you can do, I'll grease that shaft up again with some copper grease, but you can put the axle in just a little way like that, so it's flush. That's the caliper. So now that caliper will stay there while you put the wheel in. If you haven't got the luxury of rally raid spacers, I can't emphasize that enough, they are so helpful. We also got to open them up the shoes, which is much better to do this with a screwdriver, and quite often the shoes, the pads will pop out at the other end. So what you can do to stop that from happening is stick a bit of tissue paper in there just to keep it spaced. It can be a real battle getting the wheel back in without those good spacers. So what I'm going to have to do is revert back to my old dummy shaft. But first I'm going to clean up the spacers. We'll just poke a little bit of paper in the back there. And now we let the battle begin. So I'm going to revert back pre-rally raid spacers back to my old dummy shaft technique. So you push that in, and that wants to be flush with the spacer there, and the same the other side. So now that should hold the spacers in place. So reverting back to the dummy shaft and pushing the spindle in from the other side, and the cable tie should make life a little bit easier. And the reason why the shaft normally comes in from left to right, it's to do with vibration rotation. It's science. Vibration rotation wants to spin things the same direction as the engine is spinning. So if you put the bolt in the other way and you neglect your bike, you don't look at it ever, then there's a risk that that bolt can undo. So don't do it if you're like that. Looking good so far. Look at that. Putting the chain on first. Chain is nice and oiled, Peter. Look at that. Yeah, look at that. So what happened there, look, as I pushed the shaft through, the dummy shaft comes flying out the other side, leaving the spacers in place. What about that? What a load of bollocks, eh? You're probably thinking, but useful tip or utter bollocks. Yeah, look at that. So putting that shaft through the wrong way, the risk you take is the sciencey bit, vibration, rotation. Just leaves tightening the chain. So you want a straight line between spindle, pivot joint on the swing arm and your sprocket, and then that'll be the tightest point of your chain. And all I've got to do is go and get my expensive gadget, which I have. Bollocks do I. All I have to do is lay my fat carcass over that seat, pull down, and I shall find the tightest point on the chain. Yeah, that's not far out. Don't want it silly tight. That'll be fine. The amount of times I've seen bikes with these rounded off because people are ringing them up tight. As for the torque settings, that'll do. Back to the vibration rotation principle, science. You can see this quite clearly when you're checking around your bike. So what I'm saying is, if you're pretty shit at maintenance and you don't ever check anything, don't do this. Put the shaft through the correct way. But if you want to make life easy for yourself and you're good at maintenance, do what I do. Put it through the other way. And don't forget to pump your brake pedal up before you go off for a ride. Yeah, we got the pedal there. Well, that's about it. Oh, one more thing. Whack a bit of stands in your tubes. It'll reduce your chance to get a puncture. Probably want about 3 syringefuls in it each tyre. That's all you need. So, useful tips, or have I been talking utter bollocks as usual? You decide. I must admit, I'm really impressed with the Michelin ultra heavy duty tubes. They're 4mm thick. Could be the next step for me after all these tubeless failures.